James Walker had always been a man of strength. In his younger days, he'd carried lumber for his construction company, climbed ladders with ease, and walked for miles across job sites without so much as a creak in his knees. But now, at 68, James was beginning to feel a betrayal in the very limbs that once carried him with pride. His legs, once solid and dependable, were weakening. At first, he blamed it on overwork, maybe some arthritis, but when he struggled to stand up from a low chair at his granddaughter's birthday party, something clicked. This was more than age, it was something deeper. And James wasn't alone. Every week, James met with his close friend Thomas, a retired firefighter, at the local cafe in Cedar Hill. Thomas had always been agile, even running marathons well into his 50s. But one afternoon, as he lowered himself into his seat with noticeable difficulty, James raised an eyebrow. "Having trouble too?" James asked, half-joking. Thomas gave a tired chuckle. "Man, I don't know what's happening. My arms are fine, but my legs feel like tree trunks some days. Heavy slow." That comment set James down a path of curiosity. Why was it the legs that seemed to go first? Why not the hands, the arms, or the back? And was this just a natural part of aging, or something that could be addressed? He started doing his own research, talking to doctors, physical therapists, even watching health segments on TV. What he found was eye-opening, not just for himself, but for millions of seniors just like him across America. Dr. Emily Ross, a specialist in geriatric medicine in Portland, explained during a televised segment that leg weakness after 60 is one of the earliest and most common signs of age-related muscle decline. She called it sarcopenia, a word James hadn't heard before, but quickly came to understand. It referred to the natural loss of muscle mass and strength as people age, especially in the lower body. James was startled to learn that after the age of 30, people begin to lose as much as 3% to 5% of muscle mass per decade if they're not actively doing strength training. After 60, the rate often accelerates. What's worse, leg muscles are among the largest in the body, and they're responsible for mobility, balance, and independence. Losing them doesn't just mean difficulty climbing stairs. It means increasing the risk of falls, injury, and even dependence on others for basic tasks. But what really surprised James was that much of this decline was preventable, or at least manageable. Dr. Ross emphasized that it wasn't just aging that caused muscle loss, but a combination of reduced physical activity, poor diet, chronic inflammation, and other lifestyle factors. Determined to do something, James set up a consultation with a local physiotherapist named Rachel Myers. Rachel had worked with seniors for over a decade and understood the emotional toll of losing mobility. She explained to James that one of the biggest culprits behind lower body weakness is something called neuromuscular disconnection. As we age, Rachel told him during their first session, our nervous system becomes less efficient at communicating with muscles. The signal weakens, especially to the larger, lower muscles. If we're not actively strengthening those connections, they'll deteriorate faster. She began guiding James through a series of low-impact leg exercises designed to rebuild that connection, things like seated leg lifts, step-ups, and resistance band work. At first, James felt silly. But within 3 weeks, he noticed a difference. He wasn't sprinting down the block, but he was standing up easier, moving quicker, and his knees didn't ache as much getting out of bed. Meanwhile, Thomas had been watching James' progress with curiosity. "What are you doing differently?" he finally asked one morning over black coffee. James grinned. "Working my legs like they're gold. Because apparently they are." Thomas laughed, but soon joined him at Rachel's practice. The two men became part of a growing class of older adults who were pushing back against the quiet decline. And as James learned more, he became an unofficial advocate in his community, educating his neighbors at the senior center. One Saturday, James organized a talk titled, "Why Your Legs Go First and What to Do About It." The community room filled with retirees, and James stood at the front, stronger now than he had been in years, to share what he'd learned. He explained how a sedentary lifestyle, one that many retired seniors adopt without realizing, was one of the most dangerous habits for aging legs. "When you sit too much, your leg muscles literally stop firing the way they should," he said. "Blood flow decreases. Nerves get lazy. muscles waste. And once that goes, your independence is next. He went on to talk about circulation issues, vitamin deficiencies, especially vitamin D and B12, and the importance of resistance training. He brought in Rachel, who showed simple, seated exercises anyone could do from home. But James didn't stop there. He brought in a nutritionist who explained how protein intake plays a crucial role in maintaining muscle. Many seniors don't consume enough high-quality protein, especially in the morning when muscles are most responsive to nutrients. She encouraged everyone to eat more lean meats, beans, eggs, and even smoothies if chewing was difficult. James also addressed another shocking truth. Many medications, including those for cholesterol, blood pressure, and even diabetes, can contribute to muscle weakness. He urged his neighbors to talk to their doctors and ensure their prescriptions weren't adding to the problem. But perhaps the most emotional part of the event came at the end. James told a story about his father, Harold Walker, who passed away at 83 after falling down the stairs at home. His legs weren't what they used to be, James said softly. And he knew it. But he thought he didn't have a choice. That memory stayed with him. He didn't want to be another name in a statistic. And he didn't want that for anyone else in the room. The audience gave him a standing ovation, some with shaky knees, others holding onto canes, but all inspired. From that day forward, the community started changing. People were walking more. The senior center began offering daily leg life sessions. Smoothie bars popped up at breakfast hours. Neighbors checked in on each other, making sure they were staying active. Thomas, once struggling to get out of a chair, now led the local walking group 3 times a week. Rachel's schedule filled up with retirees eager to reclaim their mobility. And James? Well, James became something of a legend, the leg man, they called him. A badge he wore with pride. 1 year after his initial conversation with Thomas, James stood atop Cedar Hill Bluff with a group of seniors behind him, all breathing hard from the climb. He looked out at the horizon, wind in his silver hair, and felt a surge of strength in his thighs, not just physical, but emotional too. He had discovered the truth. The legs go first not because they have to, but because we let them. But with knowledge, effort, and support, that truth can change. And for James and the many others who followed his lead, it already had.